The small, quiet town of Blackwood had never seen such horror. Nestled in the heart of the countryside, it was a place where everyone knew each other, and crime was almost unheard of. The townsfolk prided themselves on their tight-knit community and peaceful way of life. But that peace was shattered when 17-year-old Emily Carter was found brutally beaten and left for dead in an alley. The alley, once a shortcut for schoolchildren and a path for evening strolls, became a scene of unimaginable violence. The community was shaken to its core. Neighbors who once greeted each other with warm smiles now exchanged worried glances. The sense of security that had blanketed Blackwood was replaced by a chilling fear. But for her father, retired Marine John Carter, it was a call to war. John had faced many battles in his life, but none as personal and heart-wrenching as this. The sight of his daughter, broken and bruised, ignited a fire within him that could not be quenched. The police investigation moved slowly, frustratingly so. But John? He couldn't wait. Each passing day felt like an eternity, and the thought of the perpetrators walking free was unbearable. He had his own leads, and his own brand of justice. John's military training had taught him how to track, how to hunt, and how to fight. He began his own investigation, piecing together clues that the police had overlooked. Emily survived, but the trauma left her broken. Her once vibrant spirit was now overshadowed by fear and pain. The hospital room, filled with the hum of machines and the scent of antiseptic, became her new reality. John sat by her hospital bed, clutching her hand as she whispered the names of her attackers, names that would be forever etched in his mind. Each name was a promise, a vow of retribution. A group of local thugs who had been terrorizing the town for years. They were known faces, but their crimes had always slipped through the cracks of the justice system. The law had failed to stop them, but John wouldn't. He couldn't. His sense of duty, both as a father and a Marine, compelled him to act. Armed with his military training and a burning rage, John tracked them down one by one. His skills, honed in the deserts and jungles of far-off lands, were now turned towards a mission of personal vengeance. The first, a drug dealer named Vince, was found in his apartment, his throat slit. The scene was brutal, a clear message that John was not to be trifled with. The second, a brawler named Marcus, was discovered in the woods, his body riddled with bullets. The forest, once a place of serenity, now bore the scars of John's wrath. The town buzzed with fear and speculation, but no one dared point fingers at the grieving father. Whispers filled the air, but they were whispers of understanding, of silent support. The final target was Jake, the ringleader, the man who had orchestrated the attack on Emily, the man who had brought this nightmare to Blackwood. John cornered him in an abandoned warehouse. The air was thick with tension, the silence broken only by the sound of their heavy breathing. Jake begged for mercy, but John's eyes were cold. The pleas fell on deaf ears, for John's heart had been hardened by the sight of his daughter's suffering. "You showed my daughter none," he said, before pulling the trigger. The sound of the gunshot echoed through the empty warehouse, a final punctuation to John's quest for vengeance. The police eventually pieced it together, the trail of bodies leading them to the inevitable conclusion. But the town stayed silent. They understood the pain, the loss, and the need for justice that had driven John to such lengths. To them, John wasn't a killer. He was a father who had done what the system couldn't. He was a hero in their eyes, a man who had stood up against the darkness that had threatened their peace. Emily, though scared, found solace in her father's love. His actions, though violent, had been driven by a love so deep that it transcended the bounds of law and order. John, however, carried the weight of his actions. The faces of those he had killed haunted his dreams, a constant reminder of the price he had paid for his daughter's safety. He had spilled blood for blood, a cycle of violence that had left its mark on his soul. And though justice was served, peace would forever elude him. The burden of his actions was a heavy one, a weight that he would carry for the rest of his days. In the end, the town moved on, the scars of the past slowly healing as life returned to normal. But the legend of John Carter's vengeance lingered, a grim reminder of how far a father would go to protect his own. His story became a part of Blackwood's history, a tale of love, loss, and the lengths one man would go to for justice.